my god, hey guys, so welcome to my channel. This is my very first video using my voice. I'm going to be showing you guys how to use VideoStar, all of the concepts, everything, because I know it looks like it's really difficult, but it's not. It's really easy to understand and stuff. So I'm just going to be explaining everything and going over everything. So the very first thing you see when you open the app is all your projects, but obviously it's not going to look this way because I've got a bunch. The app is not confusing, I promise. It's actually really easy to navigate and to understand, and that's what I'm here for. If you guys didn't really understand anything I went over, just comment it and I'll do a video separately. So to start off, at the bottom left, you will see these three buttons. The little settings button is basically where all of your settings are, where you can customize the app icon, etc., but I don't really use that. The button right next to it is the little trash can icon. That's where all of your deleted projects go, and you can move them to that little bin by clicking this button right here. You'll notice that there are two other icons right next to it. That would be the scissors button and the export button. So the scissors button, what it does, it just basically resumes your project if you were editing it, or if you want to add anything. Yeah, that's basically what it does. And the export button, it's just pretty self-explanatory. It just exports your projects for you to your camera roll or wherever you want. Moving on to the top right, you will see these two icons, the music icon and the plus icon. I won't be doing the music one, but the plus icon is basically where you import your edit or your audio. By selecting audio, you are only importing the audio, which I don't really like because I would just rather edit over a video that already has the beats added to it because it's just a lot easier to me, but that's just me. By clicking on edit video, I am importing the video that I want to edit over with the audio and everything, which is just a lot easier for me to do. Other people prefer using the select song or audio choice, which is completely fine. It's just a lot more complicated for me, and I would just very much rather just choose the video and edit over it with the audio and everything added to it. I chose this video to edit over, and once you've chosen the video of your choice that you want to edit over, it should take you to this. This might look a little bit complicated, but I promise it's not. At the top right, there are these little arrows which will help you move your video around without like really messing it up a lot. So yeah, that's what these buttons are for. And right next to that, at the top left, there is this little arrow which just helps you flip your video around. Moving on to the buttons that you see right here below the video, these are basically just to help you a bit. This is just a grid. There's the zoom in button, which I don't really use, but you know, if you'd like to, that's what that's for. And the two little play buttons right there, they basically just play your video. They have the same function. Now you will see this little color thingy. That little color thingy, it just adjusts the color of your background. You can have it at as any color as you'd like. I personally just always have it set to black. Now moving on to the bottom buttons, there is the set start and set end. The set start, it just basically sets the start of your video like you see here, like wherever you want your video to begin. I always just, have it at the very start. And the set end button, it's just basically where you want your video to end. So if you say you want to cut that out, you'll basically just set the end before like that thing appears. And it'll just set the end to whatever you want to cut out at the end of your video. So once you've set the start, set the end, whatever, you will click on make video and it'll just process the video for you. It might take a little bit just depending on the length of the video. So once you've done that, it'll take you to something that looks like this, and I'll be going over what every single button does. Bottom left, you have the audio button. I don't really use any of the buttons here except for the fade out button really. So what edit audio does, it just edits your audio a little bit more detailed, but I don't really use this a lot. I could just do a video separately explaining it a bit better. The next button is modify pitch. I don't really utilize this either since I don't really know its function, so I wouldn't really know how to explain this. I think the other two buttons, fade in and fade out, are pretty self-explanatory. The fade out button, it just basically fades out your audio. A yellow triangle will show up, and that is just basically how much you fade it out. The next button, fade in, it just basically works the same way. It fades in your audio and it's just the same. They both work the same. The next button is the add button. It just basically adds on to the video, but since we've already set the end and set the start, this button is just pretty useless for us, as you can see here. Moving on to the other set of buttons, you've got this little edit button here. Once you click it, a lot of other options will show up, and I will be going over the easiest ones first. I know it might look really complicated, but I promise it's not. It's like kind of easy once you get the hang of it. It's really not that bad. So yeah, if you guys have any questions, just leave it in the comments. So the very first button is share video clip. It just basically just gives you the option to export the video with audio or without any audio, and you can just share this to your contacts or to whomever it is you'd like to share this video to. I think you can also save it to your camera roll now. Alright, moving to the most important button out of all, the split scene button. This button will basically just split your video clips as many as you want. There's this little option at the bottom left, that little music icon thing that basically just shows like the beats of your video, and it gives you the option to turn it off or turn it on, and those little arrows, they basically just take you to where each beat is. So once you've chosen like where you want to cut your video and stuff, you will set the thing, and a little red or blue line will pop up, and you can like remove it or set it or whatever you like, and that's basically where you want to make your first split. So you can set as many splits as you want. And once you're ready, you will have the little split option. You will click it and it'll take you to this preview. This is where you will decide whether you like it or whether you'd like to go back and adjust your beats or add anything else. So once we've done that, the other button called delete scene, it's basically a little bit useless to us because you can only delete the last scene of your video, like the very last clip of your edit. So yeah, it's just like a little bit useless to us. If you try to delete a scene at the beginning or in the middle, this will just pop up. Moving on to another button would be the undo/redo button. That button basically just undoes/redoes anything you did. Like if I accidentally split this, I could just undo that. And if I don't regret splitting it, then I could just redo it. So that's just basically how it works. And it's just really cool that they added this into VideoStar because we've needed this for so long. Now, moving on to these two buttons, the copy and paste button. What these do is that they basically allow you to copy whichever scene it is you'd like and just paste it on whatever other scene it is you want to paste it on. Like if I accidentally pasted a scene at the beginning that I didn't intend for it to go there, I can just copy it and paste it where I really intended that scene to go. So if you copied a scene and it's a little bit too short and you want to put it in a longer scene, it won't work because it's like just too short for that scene. But if it's longer than that scene, it will work, and it'll just take you to this where you can basically just adjust it, set the end, set the start, like whatever it is you'd like, and you can just adjust it to your liking or whatever. And once you've like adjusted it to your liking, you can just click on the paste button and it'll paste that clip to wherever it is you chose it to be. Now moving on to the other set of buttons at new. There are a lot of buttons, I know, and they can be really scary, but this is where the magic happens. So the very first button, record video, it just allows you to record a video and import it to like wherever it is you want to in VideoStar. That's what the record button does. I don't really use this button, and I doubt anyone actually uses it because most of the things we import are from our camera roll or scene packs and stuff like that. So these other two buttons, import video and import photo, this is where you actually like import like your scene packs or your clips or the pictures that you want to use for the edit. I normally just only use import video because I don't really edit pictures and stuff. So that's like the option that I mostly use. So moving on to the button below that is the motion button. Basically, this is where you can apply all of these effects. This is where you also apply the reverse effect. And, you know, at the bottom, there's also the set start and set end where you basically pick how long you want the effect to last or whatever. I normally only do this so that I can use the reverse option. This gives you the opportunity to pick the speed you want it at or just mess with the settings of how slow you want it and stuff like that. It's just basically to your liking. Once you click on apply, it will apply the effect that you picked, and it'll give you the option to play it to see if you like it or not. If you don't like it, just click on cancel. Now the button below that is the velocity button. This is where you can do your velocities. This looks a little bit scary, but there are people who add like, post their QR codes. So if you have a QR code, you can just import it there and it'll do the velocity for you. And I can do a more detailed video on this to explain how velocity actually works and how to get a smooth velocity, just how I do my velocities personally. Moving on to the next button, which would be the re-effect button. This just basically gives you the opportunity to add all of these cool effects to your video. Like, it's just got so many effects you can pick from and stuff like that. Like these, for example. And you can even search them up. It just gives you a lot of effects to add, really. And you can even import the QR codes that people post if you guys have any. I can post mine if you guys would like. And there are basically these two options, the re-effect one and the quick effects one. The re-effect one, it just allows you to watch your video as the effects are being added, and the quick effects one just does it in one instant. So yeah, that's just really cool, and this just allows you to add the effects you want to whichever clip it is you like. Now moving on with the transform button, this basically allows you to add the coloring, add motion blur. It has a bunch of effects as well. But yeah, this is where the magic happens, where you add the coloring. And just all of these other cool effects. You can also import QR codes that people also post. I can also post mine as well. I've just got so many. I'm sorry if I keep on saying that. But yeah, you can just basically mess around here and do whatever it is you'd like. This just allows you to zoom in. The other one just gives you a lower frame rate, I believe. Oh yeah, it does, as you can see here. And this, if you hold this button, it just disables the effect for a little bit. You can pause to read this. I don't really use that. I've never used that personally. But yeah, that's basically what this does. Now, moving on to the mix button. This is a little bit complicated as well. It just has like a bunch of transitions and things. I've seen a lot of people do this with overlays. I have not done this personally. I don't really do this, but people also use these for transitions and stuff. I could just do a more detailed video on it because it does look like really complicated, and this video is already a little bit long. But yeah, I could just do another video on this explaining it in full detail. Now moving on to the timing button, I don't really use this. I have never used this before, but I could just try and like do a video on it to explain it a bit better to try to understand as well. But yeah, now moving on to multi-layer, this is where like the actual magic happens, where it actually goes down. So you can add up to 30 clips or to 30 pictures here, which they're just layers. Like you can add 30 layers. There's a 3D option and then there's the lighting option, but I'm just going to turn these off because I don't really use this either a lot because I don't really do transitions. Now, if you want to add a layer, you just click on it and all like this will show up. And there are the clips that we just re-effected, and there is the main clip. The main clip is the very first one, and the other two are the clips that we re-effected. There are all these other options as well, but I'm just going to go with the very first clip. So it also gives you all of these other options: edit keyframes, add mask, replace content, clear layer. The easiest ones to explain are replace content and clear layer. Those are pretty self-explanatory. Now here at the bottom, you've got layout, color and mirror, and text. So you can't really add text effects if you don't have an animated text layer. Layout just basically allows you to add all of these effects to your video. Here's where you can like do transitions. And color, it just basically allows you to add a little bit of color, like change your video to gray, etc. The mirror thing just gives you the option to mirror that clip like this. And I could do another video on like explaining this in more detail. If you click on a layer, it'll give you all of these options of edit keyframes, add mask, replace content, clear layer. And I just explained what clear layer and replace content do. They're pretty self-explanatory. Like, as you can see here, if you were to replace the content, you can replace it for whichever one of these you'd like. Moving on to the add mask button, I will be doing a separate video on this because it's a lot to unpack, really. And I would like to go into full detail on how to like actually use masking in VideoStar. Moving on to the edit keyframes button. This looks very, very, very scary because this is where like actually like the transitions take place, because this is where you adjust the size, this is where you adjust the keyframes, this is where you adjust the layout effect that you added. Like this is where you pretty much just adjust everything from the clip and like where you want that transition to be. Like it just adjusts everything, and like you can add keyframes to pretty much everything you do, really. So I will be most likely doing a separate video on this just to explain it a bit more. so that you guys can get the hang of it. I'll also be doing a separate video on how to do like simple transitions and stuff. There are lots of tutorials out there for like really complicated transitions, and they're just amazing. And there are lots of QR codes to help you guys understand like graphs, how transitions are made. I normally use QR codes to understand how transitions are, like, they're like, I break it down just to understand how to do it myself, which I could do like a lot of videos on that. I could just post most of my QR codes. But yeah, I'll be doing a separate video on it. Now, I saved this a little bit for like the very last. That, if you guys notice, there is now a select button in the middle that's like lit up. It was gray, but that basically happens when you add like an effect and stuff. It will save like the clip that you added the effect on and the original clip. So you can just choose between those clips. Like, you can choose the original clip, you can choose the clip that you added the effect to, and you can delete it if you did not like the outcome of whatever it is you did. So yeah. Now, while I was recording this video, VideoStar added a new effect, which is Project Move. It just basically just moves your project around your VideoStar like screen like that. It just moves your project around pretty much. Like, you can move it anywhere. But yeah, guys, that is it for today. That is my tutorial on how to use VideoStar in general. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope that you guys understood. If there's anything that you guys didn't understand, I'm more happy to go into detail in the comments or just make a separate video on it. It's honestly up to you guys if you guys want a separate video on certain things and stuff like that. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and see you guys next time. Bye!